G'day listeners, viewers actually on YouTube, I'm just a radio. Just taking a time out to have a bit of a gripe because disability in Australia, and I don't know how you are in other parts of the world, and we're one of the most fortunate, but the disability sector is not getting a chance here. We've got the usual problems of access, employment, transport, social inclusion and all the other things that people have heard. But the state government that we've got at the moment has taken the disability sector back 30 years and our human rights are being neglected. And when I say human rights, I mean rights to choice, rights to the right equipment to suit our needs. And the biggest problem we're having is that the able-bods in the sector think that they know more than us. And I find that offensive for a start and insulting to our people, that when they know what's best for them that it's not respected and that we should follow up. So we'd like to see advocacy in Australia for people with disability be relaunched. The government took a lot of money out of advocacy and so therefore we don't have much voice now, and I think that's probably why the desperados like me are here trying to get our word across. Employment, it's just so hard to get work here and the pension is below the poverty line, so we definitely struggle, and people on pensions have more expenses than the age pension, but we only get the same money and sometimes we miss out on the bonuses that they receive. We have higher medical needs and so forth, so that needs to be looked at, and I could talk more about employment and that we need to give employers incentives and subsidies and so forth to take us on. And that's one area which I could dribble on about, but transport's another one. And I was reading in the Messenger about Jeff and Jenny Myers who like to travel together in scooters, can't get transport to travel together and often get their twosome broken up because one's got to go one way and one's got to wait for the next one, or just no room. So we'd like to see our public transport made more accessible. We've got our transport minister saw fit to put old buses back on the road which don't have access. So now you're stuck with people that can be waiting 2 hours for a bus, and in that time you might see 10 buses go by and not one of them has got a ramp. And I don't know about everybody else, but I get very agitated at about 1 hour and 15 minutes when I've been waiting. I've measured it on my clock, you know. I get a bit insulting after I've been waiting 1 hour and 15 minutes. So it's not a good sight, I can promise you. But our people have to have extraordinary patience, and I really take my hat off to them. They do wait, but they're like me, they get very agitated once a certain amount of time is gone. And all our wicks burn short and long, so you can take your pick when the bus driver gets there what he might have on his hands. I feel sorry for him, but buses have to be all made accessible as quickly as possible. Trains, they're doing a refurbishment. We could have a wonderful train system here, but unfortunately they still do things in the processes. When the train comes into our station, they should put the ramp out immediately before the other train officer goes away, so that when disabled people front up to get that tram, that there's a ramp there that they can access straight away, because in the past we've had people have to wait for someone to come and put the ramp up. Within that time at peak hour, the train is filled up with people and there's no room, and so our people have been left off the train, and that's not acceptable, especially when you're first there. So that's another issue. We've got general access to buildings and places like that. We want all of our environment built to access, and it's not as hard as a lot of people pretend it is. But there's a lot of resistance to change. I'm talking about even with our access to our buildings, with PowerPoints, light switches and all that being put in, we call it the metre high rule roughly. We find that there's no advantage in having PowerPoints down low, and yet people still want to put them down low. Whether that's a builder's problem or, you know, people who are backward thinking. But, you know, I would hope that we could get over all of these problems in the long run. The state government has put out a promoting independence strategy, which, unless they relate all the other policies to it, isn't worth a cracker. And the other policies that do come out do avoid linking up with promoting independence. That's another sad story. But this state government has done us in a dirty trick, in our view. They've changed it over to Disability SA. We've had nothing but complaints, and we want to know the cost of that. People can't get support workers to their houses. People can't get to bed at the time of their own choosing. And what they're trying to do is institutionalise our homes. That's totally unacceptable to our people. And what this government will see is a backlash from people with disabilities that have had enough, just had enough. We know technology is another thing, people with communication problems, our equipment. Why the government won't buy our equipment for us is beyond me. To supply someone with a mobility aid to do their own shopping makes far more sense than to pay somebody $50 and $60 to do your shopping, in our view. And the impedance and the quality of life that comes along with those mobility aids is just fantastic. Changes your life. And I can give you my case. I had a business for 15 years that I was struggling with. When I got my mobility aid, my production went up tenfold. You know, the things that I could do that I once relied on other people was just incredible. And I wish the government could see the link between independence and the cost saving in supplying support workers all the time. Another link we get tired of are carers, and I'm going out on a limb here. We love carers, but unfortunately they're more powerful than the disabled themselves, and when they push and lobby, we feel that they miss the target, which should be the disabled themselves, and it veers right or left to the target, which may be carers or parents. Again, I find it really difficult when there are even parents that can't understand disability. And you've got to take notice of the people with disabilities that have been around for a long time and use their experience and consult with them. Our state government's got a consultation process, but it's a more or less after the fact. They've decided on a policy. They will consult us on how to make that policy work, whereas they should be consulting us to develop new policies. We don't see much of that at all. I think I'm getting near my end of my run. I hope this is all right and makes some sense to you. There's a lot more to say, but this was an unprepared little journey, so I thought I'd just go for the ride and see what happens. So thanks for listening, and all the best to the rest of you. Thank you.